Last time we saw F.E.A.R. operative Sergeant Beckett, he was wandering around Wade Elementary School trying to find a guy who calls himself Snakefist. Meanwhile, the running fight between Armicham's forces and the replicas continues, and we're still caught in the middle. While all that's happening, Alma is still coming after you and making the world go weird. We learn that she can also manipulate matter. She makes a door vanish in order to separate you from Stokes yet again. Stokes and another team member, Keegan, have run into a huge group of Armicham's security forces and need your help. Keegan gets hurt, so Stokes has to take him back to the APC. That means you have to go find Snakefist on your own. SSDD. Snakefist tells you to get to the school nurse's office. The nice part about this is there are signs on the wall telling you which way it is. That's the nearest thing you have to a map in any of these games so far. Anyway, when you find the nurse's office, you discover that you have to go find a security key card. Huh? A school nurse's office that requires a security key? Why? Back to the principal's office and you find the key. You also find the guy that apparently used to be the principal, and now he's yet another red tendril guy. Once you get past him and some more of Vanek's men, you have to use the key card on 2 different doors at the nurse's office. Okay, I'm starting to get the feeling there's more to this place than band-aids and aspirin. There's a computer there, and you get a prompt to launch bluebird.exe. Of course, a state-of-the-art clandestine outfit like Armicham is running Windows. Yeah, right! Yeah, I'll let that pass. You run the program and the room starts moving. Good grief! The room was a big disguised elevator. Who'd have thunk it? Downstairs, you fight through a bunch of replicas that have followed you there. How'd they get down the secret elevator? Who knows? It's one of the few plot holes in the game, and it's a minor one. I should mention one new weapon in this game that I haven't touched on. Remember the penetrator from the first game? This thing fired high velocity, depleted uranium rods, and was great for taking down heavy armor. In F.E.A.R 2, we have the next generation of that weapon. It's called a Hammerhead. I'm guessing the name was a collective effort somewhere, because only a committee could come up with a name that dumb. Anyway, it's supposed to pack even more of a punch than the penetrator did and be really good against heavy armor. To be honest, I didn't find it that useful. You see here how it can pin a bad guy to the wall, and yeah, a bunch of shots from it can take down the replicas in heavy armor. But you know what works even better? The missile launcher. Back on the surface, when you were dealing with the elite-powered armor, you got to use this really great rapid-fire missile launcher. Here's a hint. Don't get rid of it! Make sure you have all the ammo you can carry for it and hold on to it. 2 shots from that baby takes these heavy armor dudes out in seconds. The Hammerhead can do the job, but the missile launcher gives you a much more satisfying explosion.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom!
You catch up with Vanek as his men are trying to open the last door protecting Snakefist. You take out his men, and of course you get to go mano-a-mano with Vanek himself.
Decontamination sequence in progress.
You must be hurt for some hurt.
Yeah. That's the best you could come up with? This guy needs to be killed. He's obviously run out of material. So you have your showdown with him.
Go ahead and open the door. I'll give you a buckshot enema.
That was satisfying. Next you have to go through the Specimen holding area. This is where they keep all those failed experiments, which is to say people that they screwed up so bad they're nothing but animals now. If I didn't mention it before, these guys are nasty. They can climb walls, they move almost as fast as the random blippy guys from the first game, and they're hungry. And you look like food. And now you finally get to meet Snakefist.
You made it! Man, I thought I was toast!
I'm Terry Halpern, a.k.a. Snake Fist. Shh, did you hear something? It was nothing. With Lieutenant Stokes' help, I was able to establish a link to the computer in your armored personnel carrier. I'm uploading all my files right now. We can go over them on the way. By the way, don't pick your nose. He's watching us with the security cameras. She can't hear us, so you can call her whatever you want. Looks like the file transfer is done. We can take the elevator in the main lobby, but we'll have to head through the holding area. I hope you took care of all the specimens. Oh, that ain't good. Replica forces are pouring into the facility. They must be converging on your telesthetic signature. You're becoming a magnet for them. I have something you might want. I grabbed it from the experimental weapons lab when the shit started flying. Which reminds me, have you ever seen a hippopotamus fight? They start crapping and wagging their tails really fast and shit just flies everywhere. It's fucking insane. Here we go. It's just a prototype, so it's a little quirky, but it packs quite a punch. Now, let's get the hell out of here.
Hell of a souvenir. As you saw, when you catch up with Snake Fist, he gives you a prototype pulse weapon. Now from the first game, you might remember the particle beam weapon. If you don't, go back and play it again, because that weapon is just incredible. It fires this stream of energy that turns any enemy into a blackened skeleton in a fraction of a second. This pulse weapon, I guess, is supposed to be more or less the same thing. Here's the description from your PDA when you first get it. Armacam's Type 12 prototype fires pulses of superheated coherent energy capable of evaporating the soft tissue of organisms within several meters of the burst. A major shortcoming of the current design is the DPF reactor's limited yield, severely limiting the number of times the weapon can be discharged before it is fully depleted. Pulses gradually accelerate due to atmospheric resistance and destabilize violently after a short interval. I have no idea what most of that means, and frankly, I doubt the writers do either. What's coherent energy? Energy that speaks clearly, or doesn't babble? It doesn't matter. It's a little techno-nonsense to make things sound good and to explain why the weapon is borderline useless. If your target holds still long enough for this burst of energy to get to him, it might fry him into a charred skeleton. Out of the 10 shots available to me, 2 actually did that. The problem is that if there's anything at all between you and the target, even if it's an ordinary metal handrail, the pulse will probably detonate against it and do little or no damage to the enemy. If he's a little too far away, and really, without some kind of visual gauge on the sight, how do you judge such a thing in a video game? It explodes harmlessly before it ever gets to him, so it's no good against things like snipers. And the way these replica guys move around, don't expect to have too many solid hits. When Halfer gives it to you, if you have a weapon you're not emotionally attached to, go ahead and take it. But don't hold on to it if you have a chance to get the laser or the sniper rifle. Either of those is much more effective, and there are plenty of places to get more ammo for them. There's one more load of ammo for the pulse weapon, clear down in the tunnel, and hanging onto it that long just isn't worth it. So now you have to fight your way back out to the APC, because not only are there more specimens to deal with, but according to Snake Fist, your telesthetic signature is acting like a magnet and drawing all the replicas in the known universe to your position. When you get past the first wave, you encounter a bunch of random blippy guys. I have to admit, I was kind of missing these critters. No, I wasn't. The way to beat these guys has 2 parts. First, use your slow-mo. If you try to take them on at regular speed, you'll waste a lot of ammo and only have about a 30% chance of succeeding. Second, keep your back to a wall. These guys will sneak around and come up behind you, so watch your back at all times. Back at the APC, you find that Snake Fist's real name was Terry Halford, and he was every bit as big a nerd as we suspected. Still, he uploaded enough info to bring down Armacam once and for all. But first we have to deal with the current mess. How do we do that? Find a telesthetic amplifier on nearby Still Island, get into it, and destroy Alma. Well, sure, that should be easy, right? While you're making your way towards Still Island, Stokes is reviewing the material she got from Snake Fist. The info tells Beckett that Genevieve did some pretty nasty things to him in that chamber, and that's why Alma's aware of him. Well, now Alma knows what you're going to do, and she's determined to stop you. The replicas are still after you, and to get away from them, your driver has to drop you down a hole into the subway system. The replicas attack, and you have to use the APC's turret gun to hold them off. It's a pretty awesome weapon. It can take down one of their heavy armor guys in about 3 shots. But while that massive firefight is going on, Keegan wanders off. It's easy to see that he's under Alma's spell, but Stokes doesn't know that. She sends you after him, but every time you get close to him, he vanishes. For some reason, the replicas aren't paying any attention to him, but they sure are to you. You fight your way through the subway system until Stokes tells you there's an old cargo tunnel that leads from Armachem's facilities to the Still Island amplifier. So your task is now to reach that tunnel. Along the way, Alma keeps sending more and more weird stuff at you to try and slow you down. Among other things, she sends some ghost things at you. Basically, these are updated versions of the random ammo wasters from the first game, but now they look and move more like actual ghosts, and the amount of damage they do if they hit you is greatly reduced. You get into the tunnel and go through some kind of underground complex, with Keegan always just ahead of you. Every time you get close to him, he vanishes in a puff of smoke. Forget him. You're not going to catch up with him. Besides, you have a more immediate problem, a whole horde of random blippy guys. I probably should quit calling them that now, because they're not really as random as they seemed to be in the first game. Basically, they're specialized assassins, and in this case they're guarding the entrance to the tunnel that leads to Still Island. They're a type of replica, so Alma's most likely controlling them too. By this time you should have a laser, and when you combine it with slow-mo, you can make short work of these guys as long as you're careful. The problem is that you end up going against about a dozen of them, so watch your laser ammo. You can also take them down with the basic assault rifle, but the laser is just more fun and kills them quicker. We learn a little more about these guys too. Specifically, we now know why they only have to slap you to do damage. Every time they touch you, there's a massive electrical discharge that damages your armor, your heartbeat, and everything else. Gadzooks! Suddenly it all makes sense! What a concept! The laser itself is a nasty weapon. A well-aimed 5-second burst will take down a heavy armored replica. It uses its energy up kind of fast, but it does a good job if you're careful and watch your accuracy.
Ahem.
Oh, good grief.
I simply must correct this error.
I'm already sorry I asked, but what error?
Well, it's obvious the people who made this game know nothing of the technology involved. You see, a laser that can do that kind of damage has to be pulsed, not continuous, because of the combination of light sources and materials it's made of. So there's no possible way... Oh, bloody hell!
Hey, this is Armachem. They can clone armored soldiers, create telepathic commanders for them, make a 15-year-old girl in a coma give birth. Who's to say they haven't conquered that problem too? From the first game, you may remember that you had to ride a tram-like elevator to get to the vault. This time you're riding a huge multi-car cargo tram through the tunnel. But hold on, it's going to be a bumpy ride because all the replicas in the world are coming after you. Remember how I said these guys don't come in squads, they come in waves? That's no exaggeration, and I lost count of how many waves come at you on this thing. It's a hell of a fight, and there are all kinds of obstacles that you have to clear and stuff like that. Standard fare for the F.E.A.R series and an absolute blast. You transfer to another tram where naturally you get to blast some replicas with that delightful sniper rifle. The next tram brings you to the island, but Alma tries to stop you herself. Every so often, Alma's shown you a picture of a little swing on a tree limb. Now she shows you how it fits into the story.
Take her back to the boat.
Yep, this evil girl's crime was wanting to go play on a swing when she was 8 years old. I've said it before, but I really hope there's a special corner of hell for her father, Harlan Wade. He was the one who did all this to his own daughter. She killed him in the first game, but that was way too easy for this guy. Eventually, you do get to the island where you link up with Stokes and your APC again. Excuse me, but how did they get there? Stokes said something about taking a long way around because a bridge with that. Beyond that, don't ask. Now you have to get into the facility while several more waves of replicas come at you. Fortunately, you get to use the turret gun on the APC again, so fire away and watch the replicas go flying. Nice to have a cheering section. Okay, he's carrying on like he's the one doing all this. Excuse me, but which turret is he firing? Okay, that was way too much fun. The first thing you encounter is an airlock. You and Stokes make your way through 21,840 more before you get to where you're going. Finally, you get to the telesthetic amplifier chamber. She straps you into it and suddenly an old friend shows up.
What's wrong with you? We have to stop Alma. That's exactly what I intend to do. But Becca's not strong enough without the amplifier. She'll absorb it. And then we'll walk away. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Without Alma, I don't have any leverage. Without leverage, I don't have a future. I can't believe this. The city's a smoldering ruin, and you're worried about your fucking resume.
And that's where I'm gonna stop. Why? Because I do not want to spoil the final battle for you if you haven't seen it yet. If you haven't played the game yet, you'll thank me when you do. And if you have played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The final cutscene does exactly what the final cutscene of a good series game is supposed to do. It leaves you saying, I want to play the next one, and I want to play it now. I've played through this game multiple times on all 3 difficulty levels, and it just never gets old. There's always something else to find, some piece of info that you missed, an alternate way to do something, and even when you know what's coming, it's a little surprising. As you go through abandoned buildings, tunnels and such, you come across rats, and you can even get an achievement for shooting enough of them. The attention to little details like that is one of the things that makes this one of the great games of all time. The enemies are diverse, incredibly smart, and there's plenty of action. The graphics are top-notch and really make you feel like you're there. When Alma's giving Beckett a throbbing headache, the combination of what's on the screen and your controller pulsing makes you feel it. And in the end, all I can say is, can you guess? I want to play the next one, and I want to play it now. I'm Irving, and I have no life, just like you. Vanek and his men are going through Hammerhead headquarters. Yes.
Is that where they raise pigs?
Yes. Standard F.E.A.R. a school nurse's office that requires a seared security card. Yes. In a light diesel oil and water sauce. Yes. Okay. After that, Warner Brothers Games took over the franchise and produced the absolutely amazing thing that I forgot to hold up.